There is an old story sailors tell. They tell it rarely, and rarer still do they tell it to any but their own, as there are some things only a sailor can understand. The secrets whispered in the sea breeze, the shapes that dance on the horizon at night, blinking and flickering like candle flames, like stars. The dreams that come only to a mind stirred and cradled by the ocean's beating waves, dreams that no sailor dares to speak of, lest they are overheard by those who walk below. When the story is told, it is whispered, told by candlelight, on a night when the moon is obscured by clouds. It is said that if the moon should hear the story told, it will reach down from the heavens with its mighty tongues and carry you off into the night sky, peeling back the firmament and driving you mad with the wonders beneath the world. The teller of the story will rap his knuckles against the wooden floorboards, scaring away the fingers and tongues that live in the cracks of every ship. He will offer a prayer to his gods, and with a deep breath, he will allow the story to be told. Once, there was a ship. Her name has been lost to time, though it is known that she was a merchant vessel, carrying in her stomach treasures and spices of all kinds. Her captain was named Jonah, and with his ship beneath him, he had seen every golden corner of the world. For nearly 40 years, he had traveled the seas, following the vast network of trade routes that spanned them. His travels had earned him an extensive collection of wealth. His quarters near the rear of the ship, adorned with beautiful leather books and vibrant carpets, with paintings and decorative blades carved with esoteric lettering. It was a collection that did not go unnoticed by his crew. One man among them, a young sailor by the name of Anton, plotted to steal some of this wealth and flee at next port, the many treasures worth more than he could possibly make in his life. For months, he waited for the proper moment to make his move, and for months it never came. Still, Anton was a patient man, and he was certain that his patience would be rewarded. The ship was nearing the end of its journey when, floating lifelessly in the sea foam, the men spotted a young boy, his bloated corpse gently tossed by the waves. With needle-prick hooks, they fished him from the sea and tossed him face down onto the ship's deck, and after a moment, the crew could hear laughter. The laughter was dry and rusted, the boy's body shuddering violently with every deep, wet gasp. Afraid, the crew turned the body onto its back, and there they saw growing from the boy's stomach the smiling face of an old man. "Tie me to the mast," the face said, "so that I may look down upon all of you and speak my truth to the wind." The sailors went and wrapped thick ropes around the boy's arms and throat, hoisting him up so that his body hung lazily from the mast, arms outstretched. Above, the skies faded into a dull overcast, bringing with it a vicious wind that whipped at the sails. For a moment, the face stared at the men, a wicked grin slashed across its face. Then, the face spoke. "Fear me not, brave sailors, for I offer each of you salvation." The face's breath fogged in the chilly air as it spoke, its voice smooth and cold like clay. In the distance, the gray clouds began to darken. "There is, hidden among you, one who is not who he claims to be." At this, the men shifted nervously, eyes flickering between each other and the corpse that swayed in the wind. "The intruder is not a man," the corpse continued. "He has fled the rotten halls beneath the earth, and averts the gaze of those who walk above. He hides in the dreams of the young, and in the roots of trees long dead and forgotten. In the night, he came to you. He bled himself into the woodwork of the ship, and crawled into one of your mouths as you slept below deck. You will bring the man in which he hides before me, or I will have you all drown beneath the waves." For a moment, the men were silent. But Anton, seeing his opportunity, spoke up. "I have seen your fugitive," he said. "2 days ago, I saw a naked man with the head of a dog clinging to the side of the ship, whispering with the captain through his window in the dead of night." "What is this nonsense?" the captain shouted. But the seeds had already been planted. The men, terrified, turned their nervous glares upward at him, shouting their own panicked accusations. The captain pulled his pistol from his belt and aimed it at his crew, sensing the fear in each of them. It was a fear he had only seen a few times in his life, and one he knew well, a fear he knew could not be reasoned with. Pressed into a corner, he fired a shot into the stomach of a boy nearly a third his age, the young man collapsing onto the deck and screaming as the others surrounded and wrestled the captain to his knees. In the struggle, he fired again, this time his shot going wild and striking the lantern that hung from the mast just above the head of the hanging corpse, exploding into oil and flame that rained down onto the deck below. Chaos followed. With their knives, the men carved into the captain's stomach, searching his body for the intruder hiding in his flesh, while others scrambled to put out the fire now devouring the ship. Soon the flames had grown tall enough to lap at the sails. Some tossed themselves into the sea, preferring the depths to the agony of the flames, while others dug desperately through the scarlet mess of the captain, praying that the corpse would spare them this fate, if only they did as it asked. And through it all, through the blood and the flames, a young man had dragged himself below deck, to die alone of a gunshot wound, among barrels of tobacco and wine. He was afraid, counting the ragged wet gasps as they left his mouth, and clutching his hands to his wound. In his fear, he tried to pray, but found only sobs escaping. And then he felt it. Deep within his gut, there was a movement, a taste like bile and salt rising up in his nostrils. He tried to call out, but the man in his stomach reached up through his throat, tearing at his esophagus with filthy fingernails and grabbing a hold of his tongue. "Not another word," said the fugitive, in a voice like broken glass. Above, the screams had begun to die down, and the warm light of the flames danced through the ship's wooden floorboards. From afar, the ship burned, bright like a flickering star on the horizon, slowly fading until it was swallowed whole by the night.